All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I am going to dive right into it because these videos stay on, so I don't want to lag on for those who watch later. Just going to dive right into the content. I want to welcome everybody who's watching the video and that is joining me tonight and watches the video at some point in the future. Thank you for joining me. It's this call is a call that I really gave a lot of thought because I'm intentionally doing it as part of my own healing. This has a lot to do with kind of practicing what I preach. And I'm in the midst of it. I'm like right smack in the middle of it. So it's really important to me. So the topic is resilience, and you know, what is resilience, right? It's such a beautiful word. We hear about it a lot, but what really is it? And I do consider myself to be an extremely resilient person. It's a word that I use often. It's very much a part of my lingo, but someone reached out to me in the last couple of days after I announced the news about my miscarriage. And someone said to me, I really hope that you bounce back, you know, that you have the same resilience that you have all the time. And for some reason, those words just really spoke to me. It just really hit me because when I read it, I was just really in the low point. I was really sad, and it reminded me of who I am and who I've always been. So I was like, you know what? I thank that person for using that word and reminding me. But it's true. For whatever reason, I am that person who just bounces back in a really healthy way. And there's a process to it. So then I gave a lot of thought to what has that been? And there really has been a pattern. There's been a very, and you know, it's funny because I write a lot. So I write everything down. And from the moment I started thinking about doing this call, I've written down the process in my head various times. And in gathering all of my notes and going back, every time I wrote down what that process was at different times in my life, I always came up with the same words, with the same exact thing. So this is very true, this is very authentic, and this is very real to my experience, and it has worked for me. So I share it with all my heart with you guys, and I really hope that if you're watching that you get some value from this. So resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, from, you know, it's toughness, it's the ability to spring back into healthy shape, right? And that's important because a lot of people, you know, things happen. It's just part of being alive, is just that shit happens, right? But a lot of people stay stuck on the negativity or on like the sadness or whatever it is that that the hardship does to you. It's very easy if you don't have the mindset and the grit to kind of stay stuck there for a really, really long time. In fact, something that I find extremely sad is that there are people who will stay there for years. Like I know people who are like in their 50s and they're still dragging pains that they carry from their 20s. And I find that very sad. Clearly, we're all going to be marked by something in our lives. But I think it's extremely helpful to know that it is absolutely possible to heal and recover and move forward in a healthy way and actually come out better on the other side. Will you be marked by things? Will you have memories that you wish you didn't have? Yeah, perhaps. But I can guarantee that, and this is given my very personal experience, that we can train ourselves to see every hardship, every painful circumstance, everything that happens to us that we wish would not have in some way. Because as humans, we avoid pain. We don't want to experience pain, but pain is given to us as a gift. And honestly, for whatever reason, from a very young age, I have been blessed to be able to connect that, to see that, and to be able to acknowledge and know that it does not matter what life throws at me, there's always something that's going to come out of it. Either it makes me stronger, either I learned a lesson, either it puts me in the path to someone that I needed to meet. Whatever it is, it always brings back something that is of value, and that you can take away if you're willing to see what that is. And that's another thing. You have to be open and willing to see the lesson and to see what it is that you can take away. So, I'm going to speak, but this is very personal. This is about me. And like I said, I just hope that whatever I share, you can take something away for your own edification or benefit. So in my personal life, I've had about 5 now. I was going to say 4, but 5 now with the recent miscarriage. 5 turning points, 5 things that happened to me that really marked me. Some more serious and grave than others, but that looking back, were like 5 things that have really marked me as a human, as a woman, as a person, that have been important milestones, or I don't know if I want to call them milestones, have been important things that have happened to me throughout my life that marked me forever. So one was, and some of you may be familiar with some of these. So one was my dad's suicide when I was 16 years old. Clearly marked me forever, right? That was a tough one. The situation with my dad was one that, he was my dad, but he had, he was just a very complicated personality. So my feelings with that situation are extremely complicated, because he was my dad and I loved him, but I had a lot of issues, and had I not dealt with that at some point in my life, I'd probably still be dragging some very sad things about that. But here's the thing. My dad's suicide, which happened when I was 16, I didn't deal with that in that moment. I didn't, because I was the eldest of 4 kids. My mom was completely destroyed emotionally. So for whatever reason, at 16, I took on this attitude and character of extremely strong and mature adult. And I did not grieve that death. I didn't deal with that issue at all. And then what happened was that it came back to chase me a couple of years ago, not too long ago. And that's when I experienced another turning point in my life that I'm going to mention later. But so the point with that is, something that I've learned is that when things happen, it's extremely healthy for us to deal with them when they happen. We need to deal with it, because even if you think you put bandages over it and that you manage, if you don't deal with things in the moment, at some point they catch up with you. And when it does, it is extremely painful. So if you're going through something and something happens, time, and I'm not here to tell you how long that time is for you, because everybody's different. I recover, when I accept and I face things, I can actually bounce back very quickly, but I have to take that time. And I think it's very healthy to do that. The second turning point